revealed the incredible journey of a hungry woman who became a mother figure in just 30 days. Clara was more than just a waitress, she was the heart of the diner. With each plate she served, her infectious smile and warm laughter filled the room, casting a glow on weary faces. Yet, outside, the world proved unforgiving. Bills piled high, and Lily, her beloved daughter, was on the brink of adulthood, grappling with life's challenges amid their struggling suburban neighborhood outside Philadelphia. Her heart ached as she watched fellow neighbors suffer. The community center had been their lifeline, offering meals to families facing hunger, but rumors of budget cuts sparked fire in Clara's chest. She couldn't sit idle, she needed to act. One chilly evening, as the cozy diner buzzed with the sound of clattering dishes and whispered stories, Clara caught snippets of conversations about an upcoming community meeting. It happened like a thunderclap. She felt the weight of those conversations surrounding her as she set down a plate of mashed potatoes in front of Mr. Jenkins, a war veteran, who always shared tales of bravery. Her heart raced. What could she do to help those who looked to her for strength? "Lily," she said, determination brewing in her voice. "We need to rally the neighbors. Show them there's power in unity." Her daughter's eyes sparkled with admiration. Together, they brainstormed meal drives that would bring the community together, creating small boxes of hope filled with food and kindness. As the first drive approached, Clara poured her heart into each meal, drawing in neighbors from every corner. They prepped soups, baked bread, and stuffed bags full of vegetables. But soon, Clara was met with stormy attitudes as a group of wealthy donors strolled in, wrapped in fur coats and indifference. They smirked at her efforts, dismissing her as someone who didn't understand their refined world of privilege. "What do you know about real hunger?" one of them scoffed, sending a cold shiver down Clara's spine. Doubt gripped her. Did they see her merely as a waitress? Did her struggles eclipse her worth? She wrestled with feelings of insignificance as all her efforts began to feel meaningless. But as she looked around at her neighbors' young families, elderly partners, veterans, she felt the love and resilience in their shared commitment. They were stronger together, and she couldn't let that sparkle dim. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the meal drive dawned bright, but the tension loomed heavy. As the wealthy donors returned, Clara felt every heartbeat echoing in her ears. Would they listen? Would she finally be seen? Standing before them, she gathered her thoughts, ready to share about the dignity behind each meal, the stories and struggles of people who poured their hearts into every grain of rice and every carrot diced with care. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the air thickened with unspoken tension. Would her truth break through their veil of privilege, or would it suffocate beneath their skepticism? Clara's eyes scanned the room full of hopeful faces that had journeyed with her. They believed in her. Could she summon the courage to rise above the silence and muster the strength to demand recognition for them all? Clara felt the weight of the room, a silence that hummed with skepticism. She inhaled deeply, summoning the courage to voice the stories that had been etched into her heart. Today, she began, her voice firm but trembling, we're not just serving meals. We're sharing love, resilience, and hope. Each plate is a story, each ingredient a testament to our struggle and strength. The wealthy donors shifted, their attention caught. Clara could see a flicker of curiosity sparking in their eyes, a crack in the armor of their indifference. Encouraged, she pressed on, this community knows hunger. We know the ache of empty cupboards. With every soup ladled out, we build bridges, not just to fill bellies but to unite us as neighbors, as family. A murmur arose from the crowd behind her, voices of agreement whispered low, yet strong. Clara's heart raced, she was discovering her own strength amid the uncertainty. The meals we prepare are not mere sustenance, they are a lifeline. When we come together, we show the world the power of compassion. We fight for dignity, not just survival. Mr. Jenkins stepped forward from the back, his weathered hands raised. She's right. We are more than the sum of our struggles. We are a community that refuses to be ignored. His voice, thick with emotion, reverberated through the room. It ignited a flame of encouragement, and more neighbors joined in, echoing their shared experiences and aspirations. One of the donors, a woman with striking features but a cold demeanor, listened intently, her arms crossed tightly. Clara focused on her, desperate to connect. Can you imagine, just for a moment, what it's like to watch your child go to bed hungry? To worry if you'll have enough for breakfast? This isn't just about food, it's about our children's futures. We have the power to change lives, yours and ours. The woman uncrossed her arms. Clara felt a growing tension, but there was a crack in her facade. Perhaps it was this shared reality one no amount of wealth could shield her from. Clara pressed forward, her voice softer now, inviting. By coming together, we can create solutions. Together, we can fight these cuts to resources, ensure our community center stays open, and keep giving meals to every family in need. Silence settled briefly, it felt electric. Clara's chest tightened with hope and fear. Would she be heard? Would they stand with her? She glanced at Lily, who stood in the front, eyes bright with belief. Clara could feel the weight of the moment. This was monumental. Either they joined this fight, or Clara's dreams would dissipate like smoke. Then, a hesitant applause broke the silence, growing steadily as others clapped, nodding their heads in resolute agreement. Clara felt tears prick her eyes, it was a sign of unity stirring. Just as she began to speak again, the sound of shuffling feet distracted her. A young man, once stricken with uncertainty, stepped forward. Clara, we all believe in you. Let us push for the change we need. Together. Clara's heart soared. Above their struggles, a new soft light flickered within her. She could see the path forward. But as elation filled the air, lingering doubts began to creep back in what would happen next. Would those with the power to make a real change step up? The energy in the room shifted. Clara felt a collective resolve taking shape as conversations brewed among the parents, veterans, and every neighbor who had lent their hands in this mission. But would their newfound determination withstand the pressures of those who held the purse strings tight? Clara's breath hitched. They were opening a door, but what awaited on the other side? It was a pivotal moment, and Clara knew they had to move forward. But would they be enough to challenge the apathy of the privileged elite? Would they muster the drive to keep pushing until true change was made? As hope surged within her, so did the daunting question, how far would she go to protect her community? The applause gradually faded, leaving a charged silence that felt like a heavy blanket enveloping them all. Clara's heart raced, not just from the cheers, but from the weight of what lay ahead. She felt the eyes of the donors still scrutinizing her, the flickers of doubt dancing in the back of her mind. Could they truly be moved to act? As the room buzzed with murmurs of agreement, Clara surveyed her neighbors, their faces alive with determination. She spotted Mr. Jenkins and Lily, drawing strength from their supportive smiles. The room was not just filled with donors anymore, it was filled with warriors. Together they would stand against the tide of indifference that had threatened their community for too long. Clara stepped closer to the edge of the stage, her voice a beacon. Let us not let this moment slip away. We're ready to take action. But we need you to be part of this fight. Together, we can reach out to our local representatives, petition for support, and advocate for the changes our community desperately needs. The cold-featured woman stood watching, her expression softening as if the words were chiseling away at her former detachment. Clara met her gaze, willing to connect, to make her part of this story. This isn't just about charity. It's about justice and equality. It's about ensuring every child has access to healthy meals, that every family has the resources to thrive. Will you stand with us? Light sparked in the woman's eyes, and Clara felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. But then, before the momentum swelled again, another voice emerged. A man in an expensive suit took a strong step forward, shaking his head. But what if this becomes a burden on our resources? We need to consider the potential costs, he said, a shadow over the budding optimism in the room. Clara felt the air shift, it was like a sudden chill. Doubt crept back in, but she wouldn't let it take root. What cost are we willing to accept? She countered, her voice gaining strength. The cost of seeing our community crumble? The cost of ignoring our most vulnerable? The real question is, how can we afford not to act? Exactly. Mr. Jenkins piped up, his voice booming. We set a precedent. Investing in our community is an investment in the future. Heads nodded, and renewed energy pulsed through the room. Clara felt the swell of pride rise within her. They were uniting, channeling their worries into a force for change. The donors began to lean in, their interest piqued. Clara could almost see the wheels turning in their heads as they contemplated the request laid before them. But as some began to whisper plans of commitment, the woman with the striking features raised her hand, silencing the room. I have a proposal, she said, her voice trembling slightly. How can I help? That simple question hung in the air, full of potential. The room erupted once again into chatter as ideas sparked like fireworks, ideas about fundraisers, partnerships, and advocacy efforts. Clara's joy surged, but it was overshadowed by a nagging question. Would this commitment hold when returned to the competitive world outside? Would they still care once they left the warmth of this shared space? With a smile, Clara looked back at her neighbors as their voices intertwined, transforming the atmosphere into a tapestry of hope. They were ignited, ready to light a fire of change. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that today was just the beginning. Just beyond the door stood challenges that were larger than any one person could imagine. Clara knew they would need not just zeal but a solid plan, something to unite their voices, hold them accountable, and keep the powerful at bay. She had an inkling they would face pushback, hurdles, and moments of despair along the way. As conversations continued to bubble around her, Clara slept the restless doubts into the back of her mind. She turned her attention back to the room, her heart swelling with determination. But even as excitement thrummed through them, a weight lingered in her chest. What was the first step going to be? And more importantly, would they truly be able to withstand the storm that might follow in their quest for justice? Clara inhaled deeply, the murmurs of excitement surrounding her igniting a fire in her core. She had envisioned moments like this for so long, but reality was far more intense than she had imagined. With each passing second, the room transformed. It felt less like a gathering of donors and more like a battleground of ideas, passions, and hopes. People leaned into one another, sharing their dreams of a better community. Clara could see the glimmer of purpose in their eyes, a spark she was desperate to fan into a flame. It was infectious. But she kept returning to that nagging doubt. What would happen when the meeting ended? Would they disperse back into the shadows of indifference? Mr. Jenkins stepped forward again, speaking with urgency. We need a concrete action plan. Ideas are great, but we need to frame them into something meaningful, something that captures the people's hearts. Clara nodded, feeling a rush of gratitude for Mr. Jenkins. His steady presence helped tether them all amidst the swirling enthusiasm. She could see others taking notes, jotting ideas for community events, and considering potential collaborators. This was it. They were ready to bridge the gap between talk and action. Lily stepped forward, clutching her clipboard. What if we hold a community festival? It could raise funds and bring everyone together. We can invite local businesses to sponsor booths, promote their services, and donate a portion of the profits to families in need. That idea spread like wildfire, igniting more suggestions. Fundraisers, clothing drives, and awareness campaigns bubbled up, each idea layering into the next, creating a robust tapestry of possibilities. Clara felt adrenaline coursing through her veins. This was the energy she had been yearning for. But then, as optimism filled the air, the expensive suited man spoke again, his tone laced with skepticism. And how do we ensure this isn't just another fleeting moment? We need measurable impacts, something we can show to justify the investment of our time and resources. Clara's heart sank. Was there a valid point in his caution? She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down, her mind racing through the implications. Could they commit to accountability? Make certain their efforts didn't fall on deaf ears? Maybe we could create a tracking system, she proposed, her voice steady. The room quieted again. An outline of goals with timelines. We can report back regularly on our progress to keep everyone accountable. The crowd murmured in agreement, a collective acknowledgement of her idea. This was the anchor they needed, not just to stay afloat in the storm of indifference, but to sail forward with purpose. As excitement re-emerged, Clara couldn't shake the gnawing feeling in her gut. Yes, they were brimming with ideas, full of passion, but would that passion be enough to withstand external pushback? She glanced out to the sea of faces, each one lit with hope, but what happened when that hope was tested? Just then, Clara caught the gaze of the woman who had first spoken up, her expression wrapped in determination. It was as if she sensed Clara's hesitation. With a reassuring nod, the woman approached. "You're worried," she said quietly. "But we can find strength in each other." Clara's heart pulsated at the vulnerability in those words. This woman understood. They were stepping into uncharted waters together, and they would need to lean on one another, especially when trials came. The clock ticked louder, slicing through their enthusiasm as the minutes slipped away. Clara thought about how their lives would shift by the end of the month. Her mind raced with all the possibilities. As conversations continued to twist and turn, Clara's heart surged with emotion. The true challenge lay ahead. How could she prepare her newfound allies for the real battles they would face? She sensed that at any moment, the fragile balance of hope and reality could become unhinged. Just when they seemed united, the outside world loomed, ready to challenge their resolve. The thrill of possibility hung in the air, but what would they do when doubt threatened to overshadow their commitment? The room filled with ideas, but Clara knew they were just beginning to scratch the surface of their journey. Would they stand steadfast against the tide they would surely encounter? Would history join their cause or rebuke their fight? Her heart raced as the questions spiraled in her mind. It was time to rally them not just for a mission, but to prepare for the reality of their quest. The stakes were sky high, and Clara vowed they wouldn't back down. They had to be ready for anything. What happened next could define them all or drive them apart. Would they be strong enough to embrace the challenges ahead? Clara felt the room close in around her, the echo of hopes mingling with her rising tension. It was one thing to have ideas, a whole different ballgame to bring them to life. The chatter ebbed and flowed, but her mind was racing ahead, envisioning every possible pitfall that could come their way. "Let us put our ideas on paper," shouted Marco, a young man who had been quiet until now. "If we visualize our goals, we can tackle them step by step." The crowd erupted with renewed energy, voices rising, hands waving, excitement pouring out as if a dam had burst. Clara caught Lily's eye. They shared a nod, an understanding. It was the unspoken promise of commitment. They were no longer just individuals with hopes fluttering in the wind, they were a team. But even that sense of unity had its limitations. "Time is ticking," she reminded everyone, her voice breaking through the noise. "We have to be realistic. We can't tackle everything at once." A small hush fell over the crowd, a brief pause as they pondered her words. Clara pushed on, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Let us start with the festival. We can use that as our foundation." "But what if it flops?" came a voice from the back. Clara couldn't see who it was, but the doubt was palpable, slicing through the room's newfound enthusiasm. Her stomach churned. "It could," Clara replied, an edge creeping into her voice. "But it could also fly. If we don't try, we'll never know." There was a moment of silence, the kind that hangs in the air before something monumental shifts. Clara could feel the collective intake of breath, a realization dawning in the room. Mr. Jenkins stepped forward, his voice calm yet compelling. "We need to set a solid foundation for our festival. If we're going to put ourselves out there, we'll need a budget, a timeline, and, most importantly, a way to create something memorable that resonates with our community." Nods of agreement filled the room again. Clara felt the tension ease as discussions resumed, and the ideas began to morph into outlines and plans. This was the magic she had longed for, the warmth of collective effort weaving a beautiful tapestry of resolve. "Can we involve schools as well?" Lily suggested. "They could showcase students' talents, and we could have local musicians perform. It would strengthen ties within our community." As the suggestions flourished, Clara watched in awe. The previous doubts began to lift, replaced with a vibrant energy. But then she spotted a man lurking at the back, arms crossed, shadows lurking in the corners of his eyes. He had been present during the brainstorming but seemed disinterested. What's his deal? She thought, a wave of wariness washing over her. With the excitement in the room, Clara knew they would have to guard against negativity. Just like weeds in a garden, one small plant could start to choke the life out of their hard work. She remembered a lesson from childhood: positive energy attracts more of the same. Let us break into smaller groups, she proposed, hoping to sideline any negativity. One for logistics, one for promotions, and another for sponsorships. We can come back together in an hour to regroup. The crowd moved briskly, the shift gathering momentum. Clara felt the spark igniting in her chest again. As she joined the logistics group, her thoughts turned to the big picture. What would the festival mean if they pulled it off? It could usher in a new era of community spirit, a bold statement against indifference. Each head nodded, fueled by camaraderie, but in the back of her mind, doubt still tangled with her excitement. Was their spirit strong enough to withstand what might come next? An hour later, the groups reconvened, and Clara's heart raced as she listened to the updates. Every victory felt like a small flame, but she couldn't shake the feeling of impending challenges lurking outside the door. Would they be able to hold on to their unity when the time came to step into the light? Clara steeled herself. Feeling the ground shift beneath her, she wondered, what if the man in the corner was merely the first wave of unwelcome storms that could threaten to unravel everything? Would their passion stand firm against the winds of adversity? As she looked around the room, the atmosphere saturated with hope, she knew one thing for sure: the real fight was only just beginning. And with that thought, Clara took a deep breath, ready to summon all the strength she had for the journey ahead. What questions lingered in the hearts of her team? What forces loomed just out of sight, ready to challenge their resolve? Clara stood at the front, the energy swirling around her like a warm blanket. As each group shared their ideas and plans, her heart swelled with hope, but a nagging sense of uncertainty wouldn't fade. She leaned back against the wall, crossing her arms as if to hold herself steady. Perhaps it was just the pressure. Or perhaps it was the figure still lurking at the back of the room. He hadn't moved since the beginning, and that alone made Clara uneasy. Okay, everyone, she called out, breaking the spell of chatter. Let us hear those updates. This is where the magic happens. One by one, people shared their progress. The logistics team detailed how they envisioned setting up stalls, the promotions crew was buzzing about social media ideas, the sponsorship group laid out potential local businesses that could jump on board. Clara could see the excitement blooming across their faces, yet she noticed that the man had not joined any discussions and instead stayed rooted in his corner, his expression unreadable. As the final team presented their ideas, Clara decided it was time for her to step out of her comfort zone. Before we wrap up, I'd like to hear from everyone, even those who haven't spoken yet. Is there anything else we need to consider? Feel free to share any concerns. A heavy silence followed. The people at the table exchanged doubtful glances. Clara's stomach dropped. She could feel the weight of urgency pressing on her chest. Just then, the man stepped forward, his presence commanding immediate attention. Clara's heart pounded. I'm Greg, he announced, his voice low but steady. I overheard some of the ideas today, and while I admire the ambition, I have to say that I'm not convinced this festival is going to work. Some murmurs broke out, your classic divide between optimism and skepticism. Clara's palms grew sweaty. To counter him, she took a deep breath. Why do you feel that way, Greg? She asked, keeping her tone inviting, even though she could feel her own doubts inching back. Let us face it. This kind of thing has been tried before, he replied, meeting her gaze intently. It gets excitement for a moment, then fizzle out. If you ask me, you're setting yourselves up for failure. The air in the room grew tense, a palpable current of doubt sweeping over Clara and her hopeful team. She could feel the energy shift, deflating like a balloon losing air. I hear your concerns, Clara said slowly, her voice stronger now. But maybe we can learn from the past. We have the chance to involve our community in something great, something fresh. What if we focus on building relationships first? Maybe we partner with local schools and businesses to create something beautiful? Greg seemed unfazed, his arms still crossed tightly. And what happens when those efforts don't pan out? How do you plan to handle that disappointment? Clara felt a knot in her stomach forming tighter. For all their enthusiasm today, she could sense the clouds gathering above. Every word Greg spoke was like a stone tossed into the water, rippling uncertainty outward. In that moment, she felt responsible for her team's spirit. Every great endeavor comes with risks, she countered, her voice steady but rising. We can't control the outcome, but we can control how much heart we put into it. That's what makes community thrive. The murmurs quieted, eyes shifting back to Clara. She could see the flicker of determination igniting in some of them while others were still wrestling with doubt. Remember, the festival is not just about us. It's about what we can create together, she added, catching Lilia's eye again. We're a community. We can lift each other up, learn together, grow together. For a brief moment, the room was silent, each person lost in their thoughts. Slowly, Clara began to believe in her words. But Greg remained unmoved, like a shadow at dusk, threatening to swallow the light. Maybe the question we need to ask, he said, voice layering with skepticism, isn't just about a festival. It's about whether you're ready to face the disappointments that come when you put your heart and soul into something. Clara clenched her fists, feeling the weight of every pair of eyes on her. Suddenly, she knew they were all waiting for her response. As the tension hung in the air, a ripple of fear shot through her. Are we really ready for what lies ahead? She thought, grappling with her own inner turmoil. What if Greg was right? What if their aspirations were bound to crumble before they even took flight? Just then, Lily broke the silence, stepping closer to Clara. We can do this. Together. We're a family, right? We lift each other. Her words hung like a lifeline, tugging at the hearts in the room. Clara saw that spark of belief flicker anew amongst them, but she couldn't shake Greg's voice. It bore the haunting truth of reality. Did they have the courage to press on despite the shadows? Would this festival be built on dreams, or would it teeter on the edge of collapse? Clara looked around the room, each face mirroring echoes of hope and fear alike, and she wondered, could they collectively forge a way through the storm? Her heart raced as they gestured for Greg to speak again. Would he back down, or was this just the beginning of a fierce battle for the soul of the festival? Clara felt the heaviness in the air intensify as Greg's scrutiny pinned her down. She would have given anything to dismiss his doubts, to show the group that they could rise above the obstacles. But as she scanned the faces of her friends and teammates, she noticed the flicker of uncertainty come alive in their eyes. The jubilant energy from earlier seemed a world away now, replaced by creeping apprehension. Greg, she started, forcing her voice to remain calm, I get it. You're looking out for us. But isn't that exactly why we need this festival to create something that lasts? We can't just think of failure, we have to make room for success too. His gaze shifted slightly, but he didn't relent. Success? What does that even look like for you? A modest turnout? A handful of happy faces? What if you push hard and it's all for nothing? The moment felt charged, like a rope pulled taut, ready to snap. Clara swallowed hard, willing the lump in her throat to dissolve. It's about more than numbers. It's about cultivating a spirit. It's about our community recognizing that we're here for each other, she pressed, desperation creeping into her tone. Sometimes, the effort and heart we put into something can change lives even if we don't see it immediately. But the skepticism didn't lift from Greg's face. You can't build a house on a shaky foundation, Clara. At that, Clara felt a warmth rising within her, not boiling anger but a fierce determination. She couldn't let this be the end of it. Maybe we're not building a house, she replied, her voice steadying. Maybe we're planting a seed. It takes time for it to grow, and yes, sometimes those seeds don't sprout. But let us say we do find a way to nurture that seed together. Just imagine the harvest. For the first time, Clara noticed a flicker of something in Greg's expression, curiosity, perhaps. She seized that moment, feeling emboldened. Can we at least commit to the concept? Let us test it. Let us pour our hearts into this, even if we fail. But what if we soar? What if we connect with people in ways we never dreamed we could? Sitting in silence while she awaited his response, the room seemed to pulse with energy. Her friends leaned in slightly, their hopes subtly creeping back into the atmosphere. A few began to nod, while others whispered light-hearted affirmations. Clara recognized that they needed to feel included, to believe that they had the power to make any festival a success. Greg remained silent, his expression guarded as if weighing the possibilities. Sensing the shift in the room, Clara turned her attention from him to the others. Let us talk about our visions. What do you each see for our community? What dreams do we want to weave into this festival? Lily stepped forward first, her radiant smile returning. Healing through art, she exclaimed with passion. Local artists showcasing their work can inspire people. It could be something beautiful. Nods of agreement passed around the room. As they began sharing ideas again, Clara felt her heart buzz with warm energy. Although Greg still stood in the background, he was becoming less of a shadow and more of an onlooker, absorbing the spark of creativity igniting throughout the space. Then, a voice broke through the chatter. What about incorporating some storytelling? Our community's history matters. It was James, eager with enthusiasm. His idea struck a chord, echoing through the group and solidifying their collective voice of determination. Clara let herself smile, relief washing over her like the first rays of morning light. They were coming back to life, each sharing their dreams made vibrant in the air. Yet, just as warmth filled her chest, she couldn't shake the lingering doubt that flickered in the back of her mind. Would Greg dampen their spirits again? Okay, everyone, Clara said, trying to harness the renewed energy before them. Let us create a plan. I want everyone to voice their hopes for this festival. Remember, it takes a village. As excitement swelled once more, Clara turned to look at Greg, still lingering in his corner. The doubt etched into his face still sat there like a cloud. It overpowered her optimism for a split second, leaving her with a question that wouldn't quit. What was Greg hiding behind that skepticism, and would he find a way to contribute before it was too late? The air hummed with excitement, yet Clara knew just as quickly as cheers could rally, they could fade. With the meeting still buzzing, she couldn't help but wonder, were they truly ready to dive into this journey together, or would the pressure crack their fragile resolve? As the group shared ideas, Clara felt a surge of hope wash over her, but Greg's reactions were still a weight on her mind. She caught glimpses of him, his brow furrowed, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. She worried that his skepticism might still crush the fragile energy they had built. Let us make an inventory of what skills we have on our team, Clara suggested, trying to steer the focus away from Greg and back to their collective strength. Who can handle the logistics, who can reach out to vendors, who can spread the word? One by one, hands shot up. Lily offered to organize art displays, while Maya chimed in to handle the marketing. James jumped in again, eager to take charge of the storytelling sessions. Clara could feel the momentum building, each small commitment adding to the collective spirit. Then, a hand hesitantly rose from the crowded table. It was Greg, his expression still guarded but different somehow. Okay, he began, his voice low but clear. I can help with sponsorships. I know some people in local businesses who might be interested in supporting us. A wave of surprise rippled through the group. Clara felt a mix of disbelief and joy. That's really great, Greg. It's about all of us working together. I appreciate you stepping up. He nodded, his expression softening just a touch. But Clara remained aware of the battle raging within him, the want to contribute versus the fear of failure. Let us remember our goal here, Clara urged, her voice steady. This festival isn't just about the logistics, it's about building a stronger community and creating connections. We are each part of this tapestry. Excitement bubbled as they began forming color-coded charts and timelines. Ideas flowed like water, filling every crevice in their shared vision. Clara glanced at Greg now and then, hoping to see more of that rare spark from moments before. But he still maintained a slight distance, a shadow in their vibrant room. Suddenly, the lights flickered overhead, and the sudden darkness sent gasps through the crowd. Clara's heart raced, uncertainty clutching at her chest like a cold hand. The group shared nervous looks as they shuffled, trying to make sense of the disruption. As the lights returned, Clara noticed Greg standing taller, his jaw set with determination. Don't let this setback shake you. If we want to make this festival happen, we have to expect the unexpected. It's part of the journey, he said, his voice strong, cutting through the moment's chaos. The unexpected confidence in his tone stirred something deep within Clara. Maybe this was the turning point. Perhaps Greg wasn't as lost as they had thought. They could be each other's anchors, lifting up from the uncertainty together. Clara decided to seize the moment. Let this be our rallying cry. We can turn difficulties into opportunities. She encouraged, her heart beating rapidly as her words echoed in the air. Around the room, faces lit up, igniting hope once more. They weren't just fighting for the festival, they were fighting for each other. But just as the group surged with renewed spirit, Clara felt a pang of anxiety creep back in. What if the darker clouds were just lurking out of sight, waiting to reclaim their space? As lively discussions filled the room, Clara's heart raced with the thrill of possibility. Could this festival truly unite them as a community? Would they emerge stronger on the other side? Maybe, just maybe, this was the crossroads they needed to face together. Clara picked up her pen, ready to write down what felt like a promise. But would the ink dry before truth nodded her ambition? The question swirled around her as her gaze swept the room once more. They had taken a step forward, but were they ready for the challenge ahead, or would the shadows return to cloud their dreams? The buzz of excitement in the room was almost electric. Clara felt it ripple through her veins. This was more than just planning a festival, it was about creation, about building a future together. She turned her attention back to the group, their animations igniting hope in her heart. But lingering doubts still tugged at her mind, like a distant storm threatening to break. All right, let us set some deadlines, she proposed, trying to harness the energy into something tangible. We need a timeline for each task. Who can commit to having their part done by next week? Hands shot up again, eager voices chiming in. Lily and Maya exchanged glances, ready to put pen to paper, and Clara marveled at how quickly they're pooling their talents. The air felt warm with camaraderie as suggestions flew. But then, she glanced at Greg. His arms remained tight across his chest, a fortress surrounding him that seemed hard to breach. The flicker of confidence from before now felt like a shadow. Clara wondered about his reservations. He had stepped forward, yes, but was he fully in? Did he truly believe in their vision? Greg, how about you? She asked, her tone light but probing. Could you set up a meeting with those local businesses by next Friday? It could give us a solid foundation for the fundraising. A heavy silence fell. Greg's eyes darkened, and Clara could almost see the gears turning in his mind. He hesitated, the war within igniting a battle of fear and uncertainty. I'll try, he said slowly, but there was an edge to his voice that marked reluctance. Clara's stomach tightened. Try? The word felt like a thin thread, stretched to its limits. You can do this, she encouraged softly. We all believe in you. It felt risky, like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. She needed something to burn brightly within him, but was she asking too much? Let us all share our personal goals for this festival, James suggested, breaking the tension. What does this mean to us individually? The group nodded, and Clara felt a flicker of hope ignite again. They could dig deeper, draw out the roots of their motivations. One by one, they opened up, revealing their dreams, their visions of what the festival could become. I want to show the kids in our community that art is for everyone, Lily said, passion glowing on her face. I want them to see how creativity can empower them. Maya spoke next. For me, it's about building connections. It's easy to feel lost in a big city, but we can create a place where everyone feels welcome. As each member poured out their hearts, Clara felt the weight on her chest ease. Greg remained quiet, though, his silence piercing the atmosphere. Clara noticed he was looking more inward, deep in thought, perhaps afraid to expose his own vulnerabilities. Finally, after several heartfelt shares, Clara looked straight at Greg. What about you? What do you hope this festival will achieve for you? He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, and for a brief moment, time felt suspended. Clara's heart raced. She wanted him to understand that they all needed him, that his voice was vital. But would he let his wall come down? I guess he started, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to believe that this is more than just an event. I want to feel like I matter. Like I belong somewhere. The room went still. Clara's heart sank and soared at the same time. This was the real struggle. The yearning for connection lived deep within them all. She smiled softly, understanding the universality of their fears. It matters to us, Greg, she assured him gently. We can't do this without you. But just as the moment felt charged with understanding, the door swung open unexpectedly. An unfamiliar figure stepped inside their mentor, Mr. Davidson, with a serious expression etched on his face. Sorry to interrupt, he said, a furrow forming in his brow. But we need to talk. I have serious concerns about your plans for the festival and some things you need to know. The room shifted, the air thick with anxiety. Clara felt her heart drop. Had they miscalculated? Was this the storm they had feared? As Clara looked around at the apprehensive faces of her friends, the room full of hopes and dreams now seemed to hang in the balance. Would they be able to weather this new challenge, or was this the end of their vision before it even began? Mr. Davidson stepped inside the room with a commanding presence. The excitement that had been swirling around Clara and her friends seemed to deflate instantly. Clara's heart thudded heavily in her chest as she noticed the worried expressions on her teammates' faces. Mr. Davidson, what's wrong? Clara asked, hoping to ease the building tension. He took a breath, running a hand through his hair. I just got back from a meeting with the city officials and they're not thrilled about you all organizing this festival. They have strict guidelines on public gatherings due to safety and funding concerns. They're talking about health regulations, crowd control, and approval timelines. Everything could be affected. A wave of silence washed over the room. Clara felt her stomach twist. The vibrant dreams they had just unearthed now dangled precariously on the edge of doubt. But we're not facing a festival alone, we're addressing community needs. Marcos exclaimed, anger creeping into his tone. Trust me, I know how important this is. But the city doesn't see it that way. They're worried about overspending on events instead of focusing on critical resources. Mr. Davidson looked apologetic but resolute. They're already considering cuts. Clara's heart raced. They had fought so hard to unite, to create moments of hope, and now it felt like it was all slipping away. We can't let this stop us, Greg said, surprising everyone. Clara turned to him, astonished by the unexpected fire in his voice. If we want this festival to work, we need to take their concerns seriously. We can demonstrate our commitment to this community, and maybe they'll reconsider. The glimmer of hope kindled again. Clara turned to her friends, encouraged by Greg's determination. Exactly. We can work with the city. Maybe there are ways to merge resources with them. If we show them what this festival means, maybe we can get their support. You all still need to follow proper procedures, Mr. Davidson reminded them gently. Better to approach them with a well-structured plan. They'll want to see how we address their concerns. With newfound resolve coursing through her veins, Clara paced the room, feeling the energy swell again. We need to do this together. It's clear there's a bigger fight here. If we navigate these concerns and build our agenda around them, maybe we can make this festival succeed. A collective nod of agreement filled the room. They had been through enough already. Clara could see the determination glimmer in everyone's eyes. No matter how daunting the task, they would stand together, ready to transform their dreams into reality. Over the next weeks, they pooled their strengths, addressing every concern raised. Clara organized meetings with both local businesses and community leaders. They drafted proposals that highlighted the festival's positive impact and safety protocols. Each small victory felt monumental. Clara felt the community rally around their efforts, filling her with hope. The donations poured in, schools committed to participate, and local artists expressed excitement to showcase their talents. The day of the festival arrived, and Clara stood at the entrance, taking a deep breath. The smells of delicious food wafted through the air, infused with laughter and joy. Colorful tents lined the park, filled with artwork, music, and storytelling. She looked out over the crowd, families, friends, strangers all gathered together, woven into a tapestry of unity. Even Greg, once a quiet force, stood confidently at a booth, engaging with local business owners and sharing in the excitement. As the festival kicked off, Clara felt the familiar spark breaching her heart, brighter than before. This wasn't just about festivities, it was a celebration of tenacity, resilience, and hope. With tears of joy pooling in her eyes, she made her way through the crowd. She caught sight of Mr. Jenkins and Lily, each glowing with pride. As laughter erupted around her, she realized this was the community they had fought for. They had overcome doubt together, defied expectations, and celebrated their strength side by side. Clara raised her voice, calling out, "This is our moment. This is what happens when we unite as one." Applause erupted, infectious and heartwarming. In that fleeting moment, Clara understood what they had truly built, a community that saw beyond its struggles, one nurturing a bond that glimmered with love. She beamed, tears streaming down her cheeks with joy. They had created more than a festival. They had created a movement. So much had changed in those 30 days. It was clear now, together, they would never be overlooked again. They were not just neighbors, they were family. As the sunset, painting the sky with fiery hues, Clara felt a sense of absolution envelop her. For every tear shed, every laugh shared, they had carved out their place in the world, vibrant and resilient, and in that shared moment, Clara vowed to continue pushing for her community, to make sure their voices would never go unheard again. Now it's your turn. Don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories about communities overcoming struggles together. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for inspiring transformations like Clara's. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. How did it touch your heart? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait a moment longer. True fans understand the importance of supporting our stories.